If you look at pretty much anything we interact with, what was our phone situation like 100 years ago, right? Totally different. And yet, when you look at a typical classroom in a public school, sometimes it's hard to pick out the changes that have happened. It makes me realize that if we're going to prepare our students for a very different future, then we need to do things very differently.
I had the pleasure of going to a phenomenal public school for elementary school. And when my mom saw the types of opportunities, some of the shifts that were happening, she realized that she wanted me to have more opportunities. And I went to a phenomenal independent school after that. And I think the thing that stuck with me was how an 18-minute drive across DC meant that I had access to such different resources. I had access to different opportunities. I had access to educators who had autonomy to what they wanted to do in their classroom.
Look at our data. There are inequities across the board. We see these discrepancies about what the outcomes are for our students by race, by age, by demographics. That is not acceptable. We as human beings at DCPS, as a district, do not believe that those inequities can exist, and we have the responsibility to do something about it.
DCPS had the opportunity to launch our design lab 5 years ago in 2018 as a space for schools, school leaders to come together to solve small problems that they were facing. And we did a landscape analysis, and we thought, where can we learn again? How can we take a learner stance and figure out who's already doing stuff that works? And XQ comes to the top of the search results when you're trying to figure out how to approach redesign in a way that's thoughtful and meaningful.
You have a big, bold, aspirational statement you came up with already. How many of us have shared that with our community? How many of us have gotten input from our community on that? How many of us have asked our students about that?
The work at XQ is just all about transforming high school. We work directly with teachers and students and take them on this amazing design journey to get them to think about what could high school be for them and for their school community. The work in DC has been on our radar for a long time. It's just given their long history of innovation.
I think XQ had seen the great leadership we had in Chancellor Farabee. They saw our deep commitment as a school district to really let community lead, and it felt like there was alignment between their vision for what high school redesign should look like and our conditions that we were creating.
We have seen over the years lots of school transformation efforts, but I think what makes DCPS unique and XQ unique is just that commitment to saying we're not going to come in with an idea that we're forcing a community to take. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We're going to come in, we're going to look at some data, we're going to norm on what's going really well and where we're not meeting the outcomes that we're hoping to meet, and then we're going to come up with strategies and solutions.
The best ideas for how to support a student or support a school lives in community. And you have to be in that space with people to come up with those ideas, to learn from them. They bring a perspective and they bring a lens that is broader, that helps to really shine light and also helps us to identify patterns and to put a name again to what some might feel is just cold data.
It is beneficial for us to emphasize that our systems were built like this. So now we must work on our redesign and really leaning into what are the systemic practices that have led us to where we are today, and what are ways that the system will need to shift in the future to really actualize your visions.
Redesign created a really authentic and organic space for us to pause, to look at what the school experience had been, to look at student data as a collective. And so to sit down with this non-traditional group, right? Not just your leadership team, but to sit down with grandparents, to sit down with students and actually talk about what has been going well for our school and where do we need to focus.
How do we come together to rethink what's possible, to rethink what it means to be prepared for success, whether that's in college or career? How do we give students access to relevant real-world learning opportunities? How do we not just measure success by seat time? How do we actually put them out and think about models in which the city is the classroom? There's experiential learning opportunities, there's project-based learning. These are all things that we look at to say, this is what makes a transformed high school look fundamentally different.